Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Early Morning Core. I'm your host, Tristan, and today we are going to be covering Oddity from 2024. Oddity was directed by Damien McCarthy. Damien McCarthy is also the writer. If you're familiar with Damien McCarthy, he also made Caveat, which is a pretty spooky movie, in my opinion. He does really good with atmosphere type horror. At least if you look him up, that's what it's going to tell you, is that he's more like an atmospheric type person, less than a straight in your face type scary. But I'll be honest, I found Oddity to be a bit scarier than Caveat. At least when it came to the in your face type stuff. I want to say there was more jump scares. But yeah. So Oddity was a movie that I really, really did enjoy. First time watching it. I'll say that out of this and Caveat, I do prefer this one over Caveat. Of course, I'm doing all this to get prepared for Hokum, which I'm going to go see tomorrow. So, with any luck, after I get done recording this, I'm going to start watching Caveat, start taking my notes, and then I will go. And then tomorrow morning at least, I can record an episode on Caveat, then go watch Hokum at 7:20 at a theater that's an hour away, and then maybe write down just some notes while watching it. Probably not like I do, because I wrote like 3 pages in my journal. So, but if the audio sounds any different or louder or anything like that, it is because that I got a new mic. I decided that after like 10 episodes, I'm like, okay, I really need to start committing more. So this episode actually should have like intro music. Not really intro music, maybe, but like sounds. Should sound like birds and then thunderstorms or something, because the birds represent the early morning and then the thunderstorms represent the horror. I was going to have like zombie noises, but I didn't know if that was cheesy. I've never done this before. So, okay, let's get into this movie a little bit more. So some of the ratings were actually pretty good. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 96%, which 96 for any movie on Rotten Tomatoes is a good score. IMDb has a 6.7 out of 10, and then Letterboxd has a 3.4 out of 5. So yeah, not bad at all. The budget was $750,000, which is, again, anything below like millions of dollars is kind of small budgeted, especially since it grossed over 1.8 million, and I don't believe it had a wide release to like all theaters or anything like that. I should have looked up how many theaters was released to, but yeah, those are some of the general facts. Of course, this movie also kind of confirmed that Damien McCarthy is making all of his movies into the same universe. It has, let's just say that there's something in the movie that ties this movie to Caveat, and there's also like a short film from, I think, 13 years ago, where a short film on YouTube from like 13 years ago about one of the characters in this movie. And then, yeah, out of the trivia, I kind of want to save those for when they make themselves relevant in the film. So now that I've got my little bit of factoid out there, let's start talking about this movie. Now, I will be honest, I took a lot of notes, but I did not start writing the notes until after the movie was already playing for a time. So I may have missed some things. So, movie starts out. We have our, who we think is kind of our main girl, Danny. Which, if you watch the trailer, Danny is the one that is at home with the one-eyed guy outside. That's what I should have looked up. I should have looked up his name. I forgot it. But she is working on like this trap door in her house. And her house is like being renovated. She's got a tent in it. There's no decoration, hardly anything. But she's working on this trap door that's on the second floor. And I'll be honest, the only thing that I can think this would be useful for would be laundry. I just think that's a safety hazard. But yeah, she's working on this trap door, puts it back. And then we get a shot of from downstairs where we see her tent. It's like a yellow tent. It looks nice. And she's got her camera automatically taking pictures like every now and again. But she's walking upstairs and she gets a signal. So she decides to call her husband, and her husband says that he's not coming back that night, or at least we find out that he isn't. And this isn't like the strangest thing, of course, because he works in the city as a doctor in this mental asylum. Uh, but she says she's gonna stay the night and see you in the morning, that sort of thing. Because I mean, it's a full blown castle, like it, and it's a good looking house too. I love it, but especially whenever it gets done, like being worked on. Oh yeah, it looks really nice. But he says he's not coming back. Uh, she left something out in the car, so she had to go out to it. She hears something behind her and it is shining her flashlight around. She doesn't see anything. She left her door open to her house, so but she goes back inside, locks it, and then she hears something outside. So she decides to use this, like, like in movies where if there's a nightclub and you knock on it, there's like the slot where somebody might look out, like the bodyguard or whatever. Uh, Not the bodyguard, the bouncer. Basically, this door has that, and she opens it up, and there's a man out there. I've called him One Eye this whole time that I took notes because I forgot. I didn't know how to spell his name. What was it? Oh God. Hold on. I gotta do something really, really unprofessional, and I have to look it up. Okay, it's all in bull. That's what it is. Shoot. Oh, and the short I was talking about was a video called "How All Bull Lost His Eye." I want to say, but yeah. Sorry, gotta take a sip of some coffee. Oh, that's good. Okay, so All Bull is outside the door, and who said this line that I wrote down? It says, "They're not gonna answer you." Was it? Oh, okay. So Honorable is saying, "Hey, I was watching you. You stepped outside, and then somebody stepped inside your home. Somebody is inside there with you." So she takes a few steps back, and she's like, "Hello, is anybody there?" And then Honorable is like, they're not gonna answer you," like, which is very funny. It's like the line delivery was, "Are you dumb?" Like, they're not gonna answer you. That's so funny. Okay, so uh, he's basically trying to convince her, "Open the door, let me in. Somebody's in there with you right now." And then we start hearing like creaking, like somebody's walking around or whatever. I'm like, someone is definitely inside. But then again, you've got All Bull who has one eye, which this is kind of like almost like a judgmental thing. Although he does admit that he is a mental patient, a former patient of her husband's. So let's just say that I kind of don't blame her for not opening the door. But then again, if I'm hearing what sounds like somebody walking around, I'm gonna assume that he's telling me the truth. So there's a good chance I would have let him in, but I don't hold it against her for not letting him in. I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of my own personal opinion. Take it out how you see it. But she like starts to open it, and he's like, yeah, yeah, good. Well, actually, what I should do is I should tell you that she said she's gonna call the cops, and this is the part that would convince me that All Bull seen somebody walk in my house. When she says, "I'm gonna call the cops," he said, "Yes, yes, do that, please, please call the cops." So I was like, "Yeah, no, I would open the door after that." But she starts to unlock it. All Bull takes like a couple steps away from the front door, and then boom, title card. So after the title card, we start seeing like drawings, like all these different drawings, and they are kind of like charcoaly look. I don't know anything about art, but they look really good. They look cool. We see these drawings all over this room, and we start to hear like somebody get dragged, and we start hearing screaming. We hear a fight, and the guy that has made these drawings kind of wants to go check it out until he starts hearing the screaming, and then he starts hearing the footsteps towards his door. So he gets underneath the bed. Do not blame him. But he gets up eventually, he checks out, and squats down, grabs something. His hand is covered in blood, and we see what looks like a person whose head became hamburger meat because it was crushed. I mean, but what he grabbed out of the hamburger meat was Olin Bull's one eye. It was his glass eye, which had a cool but kind of creepy look to it. I liked it. I would definitely want something like that if I had one eye. So, but oh yeah, I quite literally wrote it down this way: fake eye found in the ground beef. Although it could also be considered like chili, but We cut over to Darcy holding a bell, which Darcy is Danny's twin sister. She is blind and she's got silver hair and she owns a antique store called Odello's Oddities, which if you get it, that means it's quite literally almost like the name of the movie. But Darcy's like holding this bell and she's hovering her hand over it and she looks like she's gonna ring it. Until a man walks through the door. A man walks through the door and Darcy is telling him, hey, don't steal anything. Every item in here is cursed. The curse is lifted after you purchase something. So, and he's like, oh yeah, do you get a lot of thieves or anything? And then she's like, you'd be surprised how many items of mine have been returned. Which kind of sounds like something about Robert the Doll. How people take pictures of him and then go through a lot of bad luck. Kind of sounds like something like that. But let's see. But come to find out that this is Ted. This is Danny's husband who was working that night. But Darcy is happy to see him again. Oh god, that was bad. Darcy is happy to hear his voice again, meet him, whatever. He reveals that he is dating again. He's dating a woman by the name of Yana. Keep in mind, Danny has not been dead more than a year. This is, I want to say, like maybe it's close to a year. Like it's about 11 months along. But Yana is someone that he met at the hospital. She is a representative of pharmaceuticals. But we find out that he is not a believer when it comes to cursed items and stuff like that, but he does ask about the bell, and then she tells the story about how, well, basically if you ring the bell you die. Like the past two people that have died were holding this bell or something like that. But Ted gives her an invite, like, hey, well, she brings up how, she would like to see the house again, come over, stuff like that. And he said, well, you should come over for the 1 year anniversary. And she does. Apparently, she didn't pick up some sort of hint that he was giving. I don't know what that was all about. But what Ted was also doing was giving Darcy the glass eye. So that way she can do a reading on it because she can, like, read objects. So basically, if you were to hand her your wedding ring, she'd be able to tell if you were being faithful or not. Stuff like that. But, hold on. Sorry about that. I thought I heard something. Turns out I'm just insane. But basically, Darcy closes up the shop and she goes back home to do a reading on this eye. Turns out Olin Bull did not commit the murder. It was somebody with a very creepy mask. Like, it's a solid white mask and it's got like these very small eye holes in it. Very creepy. But yeah, turns out Olin Bull did not commit the murder. And she goes back to her store and goes to the back of it where we see different antiques. I'm going to say that these are like more outright cursed antiques or something, because one of them is a rabbit similar to the one from Caveat, except it's wearing clothes and it's got cymbals instead of the drum. So it's kind of like safe to say that there are multiple of those rabbits just lying around. And I want to say that they are all kind of like the same thing, where it's kind of like that they they activate upon being around something paranormal or something, because she's got this chest, this giant wooden box, and she decides to open it. We don't see what's in it, but it rings its cymbals whenever she does. Uh, but yeah, I wrote down Bunny from Caveat cameo. That was before I really paid attention. I was like, it's not the same one. But we go over to the Danny and Ted's house, and Yana is talking to him about how she doesn't like to be there alone, and she is showing. So that camera from earlier, Yana has it and is showing pictures to Ted. And Ted is having like a weird reaction to this. Like, he's kind of like, well, she's dead. My wife is dead. I don't want that around here. Like, I don't. And then Yana's like, it'd be weird if you didn't want to keep it. Like, if you didn't want to keep any memory of her. But I don't know. I think that's just me. Then again, everybody handles grief differently. But she doesn't like being there alone. And then she shows him like a picture where you can see Danny's face in the dark in the bathroom. And then he's like, well, I mean, it's her camera. Of course, there's going to be pictures of her on it. And then Yana's like, I took these pictures 2 nights ago. Yeah, that had me convinced. But, and then she was talking to him about how, like, last night she went upstairs and she turned out the light and turned around, and Danny was there, scared the piss out of her, and disappeared. But Ted was like, look, my dead wife is not haunting this house, okay? I have to listen to crazy all day, all night. I don't need it here. Basically calling her crazy. Which is hard not to when you're a skeptic, but then again, that's your girlfriend, dude. But Darcy sent that giant wooden box to their house. And Ted was like, is she in it? And then Yana's like, no, she's outside. Like, she just got there. And Yana was like, I didn't know you were coming. And then Ted was like, I didn't know you were coming either. And she kind of sets it straight and says, you invited me for the 1-year anniversary. And Yana's like, well, I've got plans in the city, so I won't be here. And Ted's like, I gotta work, so you'd be here alone. And she's like, can you call out sick? He's like, nope, can't do that. But Yana does not seem to be a fan of Darcy. I'm not exactly sure why. She just doesn't seem to really like her presence. I don't know. Maybe it's because of how she's Danny's twin sister. Not exactly sure, but yeah, Yana talks about going to the city. Ted has to go to work. Darcy asks to stay alone then. But before they can really go, she opens up the box. And Darcy is gifting Ted and Yana like this wooden golem. Because apparently in some traditions, you should give a wooden gift of some sort to a newlywed couple or something. Although Yana does point it out, well, we're not even engaged. We're not married yet. And then Darcy's like, well, this is early then. But Darcy is being asked about her cancer from Ted, like getting checked up, and Darcy's like, all good. It's all good. It's all gone. So Yana and Ted kind of step off to the side, and Ted's like, it's not my fault. She can't take a hint. Whatever. Dude's a dick. But, so Yana admits that she does not like the golem. She finds it an odd thing to gift to somebody. Ted already left for work, but she just finds it odd. And Ted starts going through like some of the drawings. So basically, the drawings from earlier was from a former patient. Olin Bull and the patient that was drawing stuff, they were in like a halfway house together. That's where Olin Bull got killed. But Ted is going through that old patient's drawings and finds a drawing that kind of looks like the golem. So I don't know if that's going to be like somehow he's kind of some psychic type deal or what, but yeah. I don't know where Yana went, but she came out and the golem was sitting at their table in their kitchen, dining area, whatever. And Yana says, why'd you get him out? And this part would have had me running out. Because Darcy says, I didn't. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he got that on his own. I'm gone. Fuck that. But, jeez, what did I write here? Oh, yeah. Her keys are missing. I want to say that Darcy probably hid them, but I wouldn't know. But, yeah, Yana can't leave. So Darcy kind of asks her, can you make something for me to eat for dinner? I'm kind of hungry. So Yana makes her like a cheese and pepperoni salami plate, whatever. And Darcy kind of asks Yana how they know about one another, and she says, well, she met Ted through the hospital about 2 years ago. So, of course, Darcy's going to ask, well, was there anything between you two before then or what? And Yana's not going to admit to that, so she denies it. Sorry, I am tired. But Darcy kind of talks about how she can read objects and how she has had clients bring her spouse's wedding rings and how she can tell if a man's been cheating, that sort of stuff. But Darcy does ask Yana about how she feels about staying alone there. And Yana is a very honest person. Like, she does not really hold back. And she's like, no, I don't. I find it creepy here. Like, it sucks. So, I don't know why, but the conversation kind of came up about Danny opening the door that night and something about one of them said it was stupid. I want to say it was Yana. Yana might have said that Danny might have been stupid or something. And Darcy said, "Well, would you ask would you open the door that night?" And then Yana goes, "No, do I look stupid?" And Darcy goes, "You sound stupid. Do I look stupid?" And then Yana goes, "No." And it's like, well, me and Danny are twins. So if you think I don't look stupid, that means that she wasn't stupid. So we get a flashback to Danny seeing Golden Bull, and Danny grabs a hammer and the camera. She goes into the tent and she goes through the camera because it's automatically been taking pictures. And lo and behold, Olin was right. Somebody did sneak in wearing all black and a mask. She's already in the tent. The tent is zipped up. So, and she left the hammer outside the tent. She starts slowly unzipping it, and this creepy masked figure shows up immediately. It's very creepy, spooky, scary. Yeah. And he like squats down in front of the open tent, and then we get this cool shot from the side where he gets up and he starts like heading inside the tent, and it immediately cuts to he's outside the tent sitting down on the ground, and there's blood all over the inside of the tent. So it was very well done, in my opinion. Like, they did so good. They did not show a single hammer swing, but it like hit just as hard about how serious this is, and just the brutality of it. But so yeah, creepy mask killed her, and it gets on the subject of how Olin did it, and Yana says that he did do it. Yeah, Yana says Olin killed Danny, which that was the official ruling, but Darcy says no, he didn't. And they bring up his past about how his physically abusive mother took his other eye, the one that he used to have two eyes. One of them got taken, and he killed her in self-defense. And Darcy says, if I had one working eye, I'd have killed her to protect it. And I think that's true. I mean, I wouldn't let anybody just take my eyeball out. But we get a flashback to Ivan, and Ivan is like this orderly type dude. Like, he works for Ted. But I wrote down Ivan being a dick and making a one-eye joke about praying. So basically, we get a flashback to Olin Bull sitting beside his bed praying. And it's like night. It's lights out time, so he's supposed to be in bed or whatever. But yeah, Ivan comes in. He's being an asshole about it. He is he's like, how do you spell your name? With one I or two? What a dick. But basically says, don't be praying anymore. If I see you out of the bed again, I'm going to make you regret it. This, that, the other. But Darcy does reveal to Yana that she has the eye, and that's how she knows Bull didn't do it. So we switch over to Ivan is talking about how like once a year he goes to this old overgrown part where it was like his youth group or something, and he breaks this metal cross that is put up by twisting it round and round until it snaps off. And I invited Ted, but Ted's like, nope, I preserve my weekends for Yana and catching up on sleep. But Ivan says, you never told me that Danny had a twin sister before. I seen her in this one antique store, and I seen the cloudy white eyes, and I thought it was her ghost or something. Ted was like, there was no reason to tell you that Danny had a twin sister. But apparently Yana called Ted and told him that Darcy said it wasn't Bull that killed Danny, it was Ivan. And Ted is like, what? No, there's obviously something wrong with her. She must be confused. I'll have a talk with her. But while she's upstairs making this call, she is looking around, looks straight down, and this golem is head tilted all the way back, staring up at her. Whew, this one got me. It was pretty spooky, but she drops her phone, she looks back at the golem, and the golem's head is in the same position as it's been the rest of the time, looking straight ahead. So she goes down there and she notices these 5 holes in the back of its head. She starts pulling some stuff out of each of these holes, and there's hair in one. I want to say that the order is hair, 2 pictures, a tooth, and then a vial of blood. Basically, after she pulls out this vial of blood, we get a jump scare from Darcy, and Darcy's yelling, "Put them back!" But after she puts each thing back, Darcy gets up and sits down across from this golem and basically puts her hands in the same position, separated on the table, and she like falls asleep that way. Let me try and read what I wrote here. Oh yeah, so Yana goes to the bathroom, and the lights cut off while she's in there. She flicks them back on, opens the door. After hesitating for a couple seconds, then she opens the door, and the golem and Darcy are asleep at the table, basically on the other side of the house. So, could not have been either one of them. Well, could have been the golem, but yeah. So, Yana decides to go upstairs with turn out the lights, go to the bedroom. She's got the camera and she's watching this video where it's of Danny and Ted in the tent, and it's freezing cold. But I don't know why Yana's watching this video. It's kind of weird to me, but basically, she's like, yeah, what do you think, Ted? Points the camera over to him, and he's like, it's freezing in here. She plays the recording again, and instead of Ted, we see a ghostly looking Danny, and it scares her. She drops the camera, flash goes off, is ghostly Danny in the corner of the room yelling, run. So, of course, like anybody would, I'd be running. Yana goes downstairs. She finds the keys in the wooden box that the golem was in, runs outside, and Danny's face appears in the darkness of the front door. It was pretty spooky right then. But Ted came back and the door was wide open. Darcy was upstairs with Ted's wedding ring. And Darcy just straight up admits to killing Golden Bull, thinking that he was the one that killed her sister. Says that she dragged him out of the bed and killed him. But Darcy said Ted asked Ivan to kill Danny, all to keep the house because he was having an affair with Yana. Oh God. And she was asking him the right questions. You could have said that you found somebody else. You could have said that you don't love her anymore. She would have got over you. Instead, you had her killed. But instead of Ted losing his cool or anything, he says, I'm going to call the cops. Or not call the cops, but I'm going to go to the police station. I want you to answer my phone. I'm going to get the detective that was, working the case to call my cell. All you got to do is answer the phone. But we got a flashback where Ivan and Ted are talking about it. And Ivan is like, well, what if it gets sexual? And Ted's like, no, don't do that. Make it as painless as you can. Just do it quick. Try and do it in the tent if you can. And he's like, okay, but what if it does? It's like, okay, yeah, no, that's disgusting. But Darcy basically wants Ted to call Ivan down there so she can kill him. And I'm expecting like some sort of daredevil abilities or something, but Ted places his phone, and this part sucks. He places it kind of far away from Darcy, saying make sure to answer the phone. It just so happens to be across from the trapdoor. And he just so happens to open the trapdoor. But basically, he calls it his phone, and Darcy's not stupid. She knows the plan, so she mentally prepares herself, gets up, and starts to run, and then falls. And it sucks. Ivan shows up and is like, hey, she's broken. She's gonna die soon. I don't have to finish her off. Like, she's literally gonna die soon. Her head is cracked open. There's a bunch of blood everywhere. And then Darcy goes into like Gollum mode. Like she puts her hand over her heart and says something, and the Golem turns on and starts moving and is chasing down Ivan, and eventually catches him and starts squishing his head. But before he dies and gets his head squished, Darcy dies, and the Golem just shuts down. But Ivan wakes up in the mental institute, and Ted is like, yeah, you were talking about a wooden golem attacking you and everything. You sound crazy. So, yeah. And the best thing about when you are a patient is, well, when you're a doctor, is that if there's patient on patient violence, it's just another day at the office. Basically, there was this cannibal guy that had like this leather mask that he was always chewing on. So this guy walks in and starts chewing on Ivan's toes. Probably ends up killing him. I don't know. But Ted gets home, and that bell from earlier, that if you ring it, you die, that bell. So yeah, he rings the bell. And he gets paranoid for a second. He's looking around everywhere. Doesn't see anything. He's like, psh, psh, bunch of malarkey, you know? The bellboy was behind him, like off to the side, sitting there smiling. And that was the final shot that we got. So, as far as movie endings go, I truly do love this one. All the bad guys are dead. Sucks that Darcy died. But I think that she feels so much better knowing that she got to avenge her sister. And she did it in a cool way. Like, she basically got Ted to take out Ivan himself. But this is something that I wanted to mention earlier, and I did write it down in my little trivia notes. But most of the antiques in the Oddity shop was purchased by McCarthy himself, because Damian McCarthy actually likes to go antiquing, which is not something that I thought I would know. So, yes, that is my review of Oddity. I hope that you all enjoyed this. Please go check it out. I believe that you can find it on the like Disney Plus Hulu bundle. You can also find it on Shudder. I'm sure you can find it on Prime, like to rent or something, but I highly recommend that you check out this film. It is so good. Like I said, Damian McCarthy has this certain style to his filming. You know, like there's a lot of movies where the camera's always moving, it's always circling, it's always doing weird angles, it's always doing a lot. Damian McCarthy almost specializes in the camera not moving, but you get to capture everything. Like, yeah, the camera angle might change, but it doesn't really follow or move around constantly. He does very good with that. So yeah, if you liked Caveat, check this out. If you liked this, check out Caveat. Like I said, I'm going to do my review, hopefully have it uploaded tomorrow, and then I can hopefully get out a Hokum review as well. So I hope that y'all have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.